Imagining pancakes without maple syrup is like imagining toast without butter. It just isn't possible. At least, that's the case for juniors Callie Bush and Gretchen McCarthy. From February to April, Callie and Gretchen go to the New Canaan Nature Center to make their own maple syrup. Along with other members of the garden club, they collect sap as often as 3 times a week. That same sap is later boiled down and turned into the fresh maple syrup everyone reaches for on Sunday mornings. The Garden Club is one of the many groups participating in the Nature Center's Adopt a Tree program. The program allows families and groups to rent a tree during the tapping season. Chris Hendershot, school program manager and environmental educator at the Nature Center, thinks the program is a good introduction to the syrup process.
So they choose the tree. We tap the tree for them or help tap the tree for them. And then their responsibility is to go out at least once a week, if not 2 to 3 times a week, and check their sap and bring their sap back to here.
Sap drips into buckets while traveling from the roots of the tree to its tips. Gretchen, who is the co-president of the Garden Club, knows the perfect time for tapping trees is crucial to the supply of sap that is produced.
In the spring, as it's warming up and the trees are starting to get ready to make their buds again and kind of grow back their leaves from the winter, the sap has to flow from the roots of the tree out to the top so the sugar can get into the trees to make the buds.
Once the sap is gathered, it is then boiled in an outside building at the Nature Center. According to Chris, the amount of syrup produced is significantly smaller than the amount of sap collected.
Once you're able to collect enough sap to start, we bring it here to our evaporator and you're boiling off the water because sap is about 98% water and 2% sugar. So it takes about 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. And it's a long process.
The sap boils until the proper density is reached. Next, it's filtered for purification. Junior co-president Callie understands that before the syrup is completed, it must be cleaned.
They filter it so that it's not cloudy and also so that there aren't any bugs in it or leaves.
The finished maple syrup is then bottled up and prepared for distribution. It's either given to the Adopt a Tree participants or sold at the Nature Center's visiting center. Chris recognizes the value of the groups who help and thinks it's important to give them a portion of the product.
We do give some bottles back to our Adopt a Tree folks who have a tree. So the Garden Club, obviously being one of them. And then whatever families have rented the tree for the season. They get the first batch and usually the best because they deserve it. And we then take the rest and we put it in the visitor center and sell it as is.
On Saturdays, the Nature Center allows the public to watch the process of making sap into syrup. These days are called Syrup Saturdays. Callie admires this event because it brings the community together.
They have boil downs, I think it's about once every 2 weeks on the weekend, and you kind of just come here to the shack where we're sitting, and they boil the syrup in over there. And so they boil it, it smells really good, and you can just kind of sit, a bunch of families and us, just kind of sit around the fire and smell yummy maple syrup.
To the Garden Club, making maple syrup is a way for them to become active outdoors in the winter. Because Club Advisor Whitney McCarthy knows the struggles of gardening when it's cold, she appreciates the opportunity the Nature Center provides to get involved with nature.
To be active outside is difficult, so the Adopt a Tree is really one of the most interesting ways to see how you can farm in the winter.
Despite the extensive process, Gretchen is always satisfied with the final product.
It takes almost all day to make that much syrup from all the sap that we collect. So it's just something that's really an eye-opening experience to see how hard people work to make something that a lot of people just take for granted. So.